So I have an advertisement and then I have a question. I'm running a program at FCBC that helps people, Black people with alcohol use disorder, get help. So if you know anybody in your congregation or anybody in the community that qualifies, please reach out. I have flyers, and they do get paid for their participation. But my question is, what is the city doing about the substance use that is open on the streets? What is happening? What are the interventions? I'm willing to help. This is my expertise, but I don't know who to connect to in the city.
I don't think they're here. We're trying to find the appropriate, not every agency is here, but good to see you. We did our first mental health forum in Harlem, I think it was, in Columbia with you 2 years ago, so good to see you.
So I've been part of a group of agencies led by the police commissioner and the chief of department, John Schell, with community affairs to make sure that they are addressing 125th Street in Lexington, all of those working areas and those commercial areas that you mentioned. I know that the mayor has had a couple of initiatives there to make sure that we're addressing the open drug uses and all of the situations that are happening on the street, and there has been some improvement. But I'll leave it up to the mayor to talk about that.
He was looking around because that's really Department of Health and Mental Hygiene's expertise. And there's several initiatives we are doing. First of all, good morning to everyone. I'm still on Las Vegas time. I just landed this morning, and I wanted to make sure I got over here. But that is a major issue for us dealing with DOHMH. And there's several different initiatives that we are doing, but we have to comply with the law in the process. And it's very important that we don't go beyond the scope of the law. And that was what Commissioner Tisch announced in the Quality of Life Initiative. 1,500 officers are going to be assigned to respond to some of the issues like open drug use that community residents shared with me at the town halls we have been doing. That's one of the top issues that come up all the time. It's not illegal to nod in the street. It's not against the law. We cannot arrest someone for doing that. No, I'm not saying that you're done. I get that from people all the time. Eric, why aren't we arresting them if they're nodding in the street? And even injecting themselves with drugs is illegal in public, and we want a soft approach with our outreach teams because we are not trying to incarcerate someone for having a disease and being addicted to drugs. So it's a combination. And that's what those safe injection sites have been about. Those safe ejection sites where people have come inside and used drugs, but we were able to communicate with them, give them the support that they need, and get them off drugs because we found it better that if they were in a safe space with counselors, it's better than having someone on the streets in our schoolyard and on our street corners doing so. It has become a challenge also because you don't want to turn a safe injection site into something that could destroy the quality of life of the community. So our initiative, you can't inject yourself with drugs in front of Gracie Mansion. You can't play loud music in front of Gracie Mansion. You can't sit there and loiter in front of Gracie Mansion. So my attitude has been with the commissioner and the entire team, if you can't do it in front of Gracie Mansion, you should not do it on Mother Gaston Boulevard in Brooklyn. Now, in New York, 8.5 million people, 35 million opinions. And, there are those that looked at our Quality of Life Initiative as a fallback to heavy-handed policing in the what was that, broken windows theme. And it's not. It is responding to everyday people who don't want abandoned cars on their block, who don't want people like the Hub in the Bronx, where you just had a large number of people who were using drugs and sitting around. So it's a combination of correcting conditions, using our outreach workers. DOHMH has been doing a series of things, including picking up needles. We have witnessed an overproliferation of needles that are in our playgrounds, and we have been really putting an initiative in place to clean those needles up. The worst thing could happen is a child pricking their finger on a needle and they're exposed to some disease or not. So there's a full frontal approach, but we have to do it within what the law allows us to do. And it's a challenge. I'm not going to lie and tell you it's not a challenge. Go ahead, Sister.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Mary Adams, and I'm aware of a lot of those initiatives. I really do want to work with the city. There's a lot of evidence-based interventions that my team and others have been able to do in New Haven and at different parts of Hartford that have really worked in conjunction with the faith community. And I think that there's more that can be done directly in Harlem. Yeah, so I appreciate that, and we'll connect for sure.
Let's do that. Let's do that, because we do not have the two challenges that we have not made the dent that I would like to make is street homelessness with people with severe mental health. It is an unbelievable challenge. I've been out in the streets. I've been walking the streets. I've been in the subway system. We removed 8,000 people off the system, but keeping people in care, and our homelessness is tied to, our street homelessness is tied to illegal drug uses. So we'll bring someone inside, they're sober up, and then once they're back outside, we try to put them in our clubhouses, which has been successful. But when people get sober, they sometimes go back to their ways after you don't have that continuous care. So we have been, and that was our fight to get the involuntary removal, because we have been attempting to hand people off to community care. People need people need the support that they need, but folks are hurting, folks. I'm speaking to the choir. Y'all wrote the song. Clergy, you know how much people are hurting. And when I'm out in the street, talking to people who are homeless and people who are on drug use, you have to spend a lot of days to build that trust and that care. And we did a call to our elected officials and said, join me out in the street. Come look on the subway system. Come walk the streets with us. Out of the, God knows how many elected officials we had, only 5 showed up. Wow. You can't do this work from the sterilized environment of your legislative chamber. You can't sit indoors and be philosophical. Not until you on that subway station speaking to someone with a mental health issue or on drugs and have them spit in your face and have them tell you go to hell and have them do all sorts of things, do you realize how challenging this work is? This is hard work. And DOHMH, those outreach workers are unbelievable. They know how to calm people down, but it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. And you don't want to be abusive in doing it, and we have been really lenient. Now, when we took office, there were encampments everywhere. People were sleeping on the side of highways. People were sleeping in tunnels. People were sleeping on the subway system. You don't see that anymore. But we have not made the dent that I would like to make with those with severe mental health care. And it ties into the Rikers conversation. I don't know why you got me started on this, because it's tied into the Rikers conversation, and I've been saying it over and over again. The previous administration, with the previous city council, they made the determination to close Rikers by 2027. Everyone knew it was impossible. The total population on Rikers Island right now is 7,400 people right now. They want to close Rikers, build 4 more miniature Rikers in 4 boroughs, excluding Staten Island. The population that those 4 jails can hold, that population is of 4,200, 4,300. So we're talking about 1,000 more that he can't hold. It started out costing us $8 billion, and now it costs us $16 billion. 51% of the population on Rikers, they have mental health issues. And what I've been saying to the team, to the electeds, let's build a mental health facility that we all can be proud of for outpatient and inpatient care, and let's stop criminalizing mental health, you know? Because if you close Rikers with 2,000 plus people that don't have a place to stay, you know where they're going? They're coming back to Harlem. They're coming back to Brownsville. They're coming back to the South Bronx. And so let me wrap up on this. You know, all that we have been doing, if you look at who is being impacted by the services we have been doing, it is working class, black and brown people. Go look at the homeless crisis, folks. If you're affluent, you can put your family member in care. But when you go look at the homeless crisis, those are black and brown folks. When you look at who's in the subway system, those are black and brown folks. You look at who's on Rikers Island, those are black and brown folks. You look at those who are dealing with severe mental health issues and not getting the support they deserve, those are black and brown folks. When we get 100,000 summer youth jobs, those are black and brown folks. When we do the Summer Rising program, black and brown. When we do the Saturday Night Life, black and brown. You look at all of these programs that we're talking about, these are black and brown folks who have been in underserved communities that we have been zeroing in and focusing on. And it's all built together. It's all built together. And we know you have to go to those with the greatest needs, and that's what we have been focusing on. But we love your partnership. Pastor Morose, can you do the introduction? We're going to put you in contact with Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. We would love your feedback on how we can do this better and what we can do, because that's an area where I speak to my mayors across the country, and they say, Eric, we are hurting. Homelessness, L.A., sleeping on the streets, San Francisco, all of these municipalities, people are dealing with severe mental health issues, and they're dealing with homelessness, even those who are not dealing with severe mental health issues. And we want to try to find a solution here. But I thank you for the work that you're doing. You know? Yes. Before we're going to get to everyone's hands, but just want to take a pause to talk about the Lion of Lenox Avenue. Congressman Rangel's transition, just a real leader, a friend, mentor. The number of times the congressman has called me throughout the years, we will never be able to appreciate his contribution. But it's all right, because it's a circle of life. When we were born, you did not sign a contract of immortality. You knew that on that contract it had an expiration date. And we need to just pack in as much as we can to ensure that when that date expired, we're not going to be saying what we could have and should have and would have done. So his children are supposed to bury him, his grandchildren, they're supposed to bury him. Our elders should not be burying us. And so that is part of life. I buried my older sister last week, and, I had a beautiful life with her, and, I was just blessed to be able to bury her. I didn't want Sandra to bury me. And so God blessed me to be able to stand over my older sister and put her to rest. And I pray to God that my son Jordan has the opportunity to bury me. He better keep me alive a long time, because he's not going to get my inheritance if I go prematurely. So, but just want to lift up the great work. I know we're going to have his announcement on when his funeral is going to be, but just really wanted to bless our congressman and a true friend and leader of our city. Why don't we open to some more questions? Okay, why don't we get some questions from folks? I don't know how they're doing it. Who's running the show? Okay. But I'll answer. So just whatever way you want to pick.
Let me do Reverend Rice. I know where is he?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, brother.
My name is Chaplain Robert Rice. I'm one of the ministers of Bethel Gospel Assembly, where my bishop is Dr. Bishop Carlton Brown. And I have a major concern as a clergy. And my concern is that we are losing our young people. We're losing them because they're dying. They're dying because they're headed to prison for killing each other or because they're being shot. I'm sick of tired of telling a mother and father that their child didn't survive at the hospital. There's been a number of shootings lately, and we all know that crime is down. And we thank God for the great work the mayor is doing in NYPD. But I also want to just say, when is enough is going to be enough. So my question is for those that's on the panel, is that what do y'all got set up this summer to make sure another mother and father don't have to bury another child? I've been fighting gun violence for over 30 years. I started out with Aisha Sekou, Street Corner Resources, years ago when we was out there all types of nights, Reverend Williams, and we've been fighting, telling these kids to put the guns down. And I was once mayor jacked up from the floor up. I wasn't always a clergy. And it was a church in Harlem that took me by the hand and turned my life around. And 38 years later, I have the love and the passion to pass that on to the community. So my question is to y'all up there, and thank you for being here today. And not just to y'all, but also to the faith leaders. What are we going to do with these young people? We got to win these kids over, Mayor, because they're dying and they have the right to live. And we got to grab them by the hand and take them to the resources, and y'all the resources. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. Let's make sure another mother and father have to bury another child.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your work. You have really been a leader in so many ways, and coming out of the spirit of the disciples. Because I keep saying over and over again, if Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John was here, they would be doing the work that you're doing. And I really think our faith-based institutions going across the board, now, in all these different faiths, we know the work you're doing. And many of you are doing it on a shoestring budget, from the food pantries to the counseling. You really are stepping up. And we identified that from the time that we took office, even when we were back in Borough Hall. And I just want to encourage you, Pastor Monroe and I was with a group of clergy. I want to encourage you, as you minister to others, make sure you minister to yourself. This is challenging work. And when you are seeing every day, all day, some of the pain that people are enduring, you live through that vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma is real. And you need to take time, to do those sabbaticals. You need to take time to do those reflections. And so I just really want to encourage you to just to find time for yourself. I think about, Bishop Chantel and Reverend Daughtry. You guys are on the ground every day, all day. I leave the hospital sometimes, and I just sit in the car. My team just say, May, are you okay? This weighs on you, folks. Don't let anyone anyone kid you. You're talking to families. Bereavement counseling is real. It's real. And when you have to speak to these families over and over again, it manages. Yes, we brought down crime. Even this weekend we had the lowest number of shooters during any Memorial weekend. On Sunday we had no shooters at all. So we've been successful in, bringing down crime and, increasing jobs. But, that is no consolation to the mother who lost a victim. It's that I can't go inside that living room and say, well, let me give you the stats on shootings. That's no consolation. So we're going to keep doing what we can, Pastor Rice, and your partnership and the partnership of others are important. And so those are some of the things we're doing. Why don't you go into some of this, if you haven't already, some of the things we're doing for our justice-involved young people and, other items if you haven't gone through it.
So the mayor just announced our summer safety plan this year. We incorporated it last year, and our summer safety plan calls for a full frontal approach this summer, leaning on evidence-based approaches, just opening up our community centers, opening up our Saturday Night Light locations, opening up our school-based programs from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. We know that the SYEP, Summer Youth Employment Program, was part of the mayor's increase from 75,000 to 100,000, and we know that that was an evidence-based approach that if you engage young people, give them employment opportunity, especially around the summer, the statistics are clear. You save lives. And that has been an approach, and that has been a very successful approach. But let me talk about the crisis management system, the Cure Violence groups, the over 40 groups, like you just mentioned, Sisters Secure and Street Corner Resources, who have been on the streets in Harlem just saving lives. Those young people that you spoke about, those are the young people that she's grabbing in the mayor's upstream approach, doing case management work. If you ever, and I know you have because you used to work for it, if you ever go to our office, I've been there twice already, you can see that those young people are engaged, and those are the young people on the verge of being shooters. So there has to be not only a law enforcement approach, but there also has to be a preventive upstream approach. More job opportunities that the mayor have, funding the Cure Violence groups at $131 million in the city to cure violence work, having credible messengers, and not only in Harlem, but throughout the city, engaging those young people in preventive services and bringing them into the street. And just, again, not only Street Corner Resources, but SOS, that's also in Harlem as well. We have a number of groups that are working, Living Redemption, they're also working in Harlem. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that we're doing. And of course, summer camp, summer rising, having our young people work with our nonprofit partners. Again, a lot of upstream approach, a lot of investment, keeping young people safe. And we're going to do more, as evidence show. We're just going to continue to chip at and bring in that young person who seems to be either disconnected, out of school, and we're going to work with our nonprofit organizations and our staff to bring them in with the mayor and the mayor's investment. I also want to say shout out to Pastor Monroe for starting the first ever Clergy Collective Council, where we're using clergy to also help out. And shout out to Bishop Wright, who's part of that Clergy Collective Council, who's going out there helping young people and bringing them in as well.
I'm going to CRED.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. CRED, listen, $13 million to focus in on young people from 18 to 40. And you can be 40 and young. Those who are on the highest level of violence, having opportunities and employment opportunities to give them the credentials to be able to be employable. It is a program that started out this fiscal year with 500 slots. We're at 300 so far in enrollment. Next fiscal year, July 1st, we go to another 500, and at the end, we're talking about 2,000 slots where we're engaging young people and justice involved, and getting them opportunities, their commercial driver's license, to be tractor trailer drivers. We also we have a organization, Brownsville Culinary Center, to give them opportunities as being chefs. We have construction related. We have digital marketing. And we're talking about job and opportunities, and those organizations who have these city contracts are required to place young people in jobs. You know, and that was the language and the intentions of the contract, because most of the workforce programs that we've experienced, the placement wasn't there. You go through the 6 weeks or 8-week program, there was no concentration on placement. This is intentional, and the mayor wanted to make sure that when we place you, you got a job. So let's start there.
And that started from conversations. You know, when I am out on the street late at night and speaking to our young people, and, you know, they would say to me often, you know, Eric, you tell us to get off the corners, you tell us to stop slinging drugs. You know, we need jobs. And so we went back and we created a program which is called CRED, C-R-E-D, which is doing just that. It is telling them, when you talk to a young person, say you want them to stop doing something that's improper, you need to give them something that's proper. And that's what CRED is about. So yes, we extended our summer youth job program, first time in history, to 100,000 summer youth. The Summer Rising program, first time in history, a full year for students. But you and I both know you don't have to worry about those young people who are sitting in your pews. You know, they're going to be all right. They're going to find a way. We need to go after those who are not in your pew. We need to go after the baby kids, you know, and you know, talk them to come inside. And that's what our programs have been. That's what they have been focused on, and that's why we've been doing this holistic approach to dealing with criminality and saving our youth. There's everything from the dyslexia screening in younger grades so that they don't end up on Rikers Island because they have a learning disability. It is a real holistic approach that we are doing, you know, and we want to keep doing. And he's not here, but I just want to lift him up. Deputy Commissioner Stewart. Deputy Commissioner Stewart is teaching young people. He's the Deputy Commissioner of Community Affairs. He's teaching young people how to get their real estate license, how to play golf, how to fly a plane, how to do all of these non-traditional things that our young people typically were not involved in. And so we have to get our young people in programs like the Explorer programs, the cadet programs, the Boy Scouts, you know, the Girl Scouts, you know, these programs that allow them to develop their full personhood. That's what we're doing in the process. Yes, yes, New York Mets. This is Knicks season, brother. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Pastor Ibrahim Ayu. I have my online church, so I'm in every borough, but my home church is the historic First Church of God in Christ in Crown Heights. Like Pastor Rice said, that was the church that turned me from a knucklehead to a minister. So I was the guy, the last one that asked you to come and talk to the brothers in Crown Heights about your struggles with the criminal justice system as well, and that invitation is still open. My goal was to find out like who would be the accountability officer. I don't know if it's this guy, Cedillo, I got his card, but like who would be the person to follow? Because I did everything I'm supposed to do to make that happen, but who do because I don't get an email back and stuff like that. Who do I talk to about that?
Okay, I'm sorry. The one thing I never want anyone to say that they don't get a return communication. That's very important to me. And it's so important to me that whenever someone stops me and say, hey, Mayor, I would like to meet with you, I'd like to do such and such, I have a link. And I don't know if you were given that link. You were? Okay, when you fill out that link, I read that every morning. I start my morning, I read that link to see who's trying to meet with me so I can make sure the right person gets in contact. Sometimes it's not me. Sometimes people could have an issue that instead of going through me, I can put them directly in contact. And if you give me what name is under, I can search that link. What name did it go under? Tommy, can you find out, search and see if what name it went under? But the speaking that you want to do, is it on one of your programs or you meet with the young people? Okay, I would love to do that.
Turn on your mic. Turn on your
mic. Is the mic on?
Like I said, I
Yeah, I remember you were sitting over here in the corner. You know.
Mr. Nyblack, but my goal was just to say, because I used to thought when I was working for Mr. Nyblack, every morning the emails came and said, we're doing this for the city, we're doing that for the city. I was inspired as a brother who sleep on the train. Was there right? You know, and I before my life, you just going for a church.
Right.
And work for the city. And I'm very impressed by how you stood tall and how you will overcome everything you had to overcome. And I just wanted to share that with the brother.
Yeah, no, that means a lot, and I appreciate that. And I would love to do it. You know, but one of my problems is I stay in the streets a lot, talking to everyday people. So the request is a lot. But trust me, if you send out that link, we're going to schedule it. But someone should have reached out to you. You know, if you tell us the name of the organization, he could check now. Tommy could check and see exactly where it is. Yes, who has the mic?
Yes.
How are you?
How
Good
are
to see you.
Greetings to you.
Yes.
Great work you're doing, and also your commissioner. May I have a microphone, please? Thank you. Blessings and greetings. I represent Mother AME Zion Church. I'm the director of the Doris A. Rem Health, Wellness, and Healing Ministry, my late mother. And also I represent the community outreach and engagement at Columbia University. A couple of things that I had a question about. I had a wonderful visit yesterday with one of the East Harlem Neighborhood Health Action Center. And there's several throughout New York City. They're doing amazing work. One of the things that we were discussing was NRT, which is nicotine replacement therapy. The sister was talking about substance abuse in terms of alcohol, but tobacco cessation is a big deal. I don't know if you're aware, if anyone else is aware, but the smoking rate, the adult smoking rate in New York City is almost as high as the smoking rate in Central Harlem. It's 7.4% in Central Harlem, and I think 8.8% if those numbers still hold. So one of the things that I'm doing is developing health education surrounding tobacco cessation and just anti-smoking messages and combining the arts with that so that it's intergenerational. Now here's the point and the question. So everything is running like clockwork at the East Harlem Neighborhood Health Action Center. They're doing an amazing job. And I know that there's several, one in Brownsville, one in Bed-Stuy. And then when I checked with Central Harlem, I learned that it is a STD, like they do STD, it's an STD clinic. But there are no other health services there that are preventative in nature. Tobacco-related diseases, more African Americans die from tobacco-related diseases than, almost anything else. 45,000 a year from tobacco-related illnesses relating to chronic disease, stroke, heart disease, and it's smoking and vaping, our children vaping, that's contributing to that. So my question is, how can this underutilized building be better utilized for preventative measures, diabetes prevention, NRT access, things like that? Right. And then the second part of my question is, there are dozens and dozens of empty lots, vacant lots, many of which are close to many of our faith-based institutions. I know there's one next to Mother AME Zion Church. Are there any partnerships or city programs, that can, partner with community-led activists to transform these vacant lots into community gardens that can feed the congregation and community? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're going to get that. We don't have DOHMH here, but we would like to get that location, and I agree with you. Getting your STD results, that's not proactive. It's already done, So I would love to do some of the preventive, not only cigarette smoke. I didn't realize those numbers were that high. Not only cigarette smoke and health issues related to it, but just we have to be more proactive. And, that's why I'm drinking my smoothie. But I would love some of those proactive ideas. And even if inside the clinic, we could have information related to some of the proactive things that we could do. So let's look at that location. Can we take the note, Pastor Rose, of that location?
Get that to you, and then also at my church on Friday, everyone's invited, but I have to RSVP very quickly. We have a no menthol poetry slam. Menthol has been marketed for the last 60, 70 years for our community. Throughout, Cool and Newport and,
Right.
Big Tobacco. So there's going to be a poetry slam, intergenerational, at Mother Annie Zion Church Friday, tomorrow at 6:30. I'm about to post the banner now.
Okay.
And there's food.
Yes.
It's free.
So let us look at that location and the lots. We just announced this week that we're going to be looking at abandoned lots throughout the city, particularly those where you don't have access to park. Our goal was to get to 85% of New Yorkers have a short walk to parks in every community. We're at 84%, but we just announced this week we're going to be purchasing those abandoned lots and turn them into park spaces. So you're right on time. You just arrived. You got parks and gardens. Yeah, we're gonna turn them to gardens. Yeah, go ahead, Pastor Rose.
Hello.
How are you?
My name is Keisha McCroskey. How
Hey,
you
Keisha.
doing? I was born and raised in Harlem. And unfortunately, I had to move to the Bronx to start my ministry, Arise to Freedom Ministries. Arise to Freedom Ministries provide a safe environment from human trafficking, domestic violence, and homeless street tenants. I have a resource center that's in the Bronx, and we get a lot of women and men that comes from out of state that's been trafficked and running from their abusers. And a lot of them do not have a place to stay. I try to direct them to the shelters, but they don't want to stay there. Women are coming, sleeping in their cars. They're shacking up with family members, like living in an apartment, a studio, 5 bedrooms. I've been trying to get some help. I've been doing this without funding for the last 8 years. I'm drowning. I can't do this no more. I've been reaching out to the local elect officials to come to my resource center to help and see what the work that we're doing there. We have support group for men, women. We're doing the work. And all I hear is spend the money and you get reimbursed, but I'm not getting reimbursed. My lights is about to get cut off. My staff, I can't pay the staff. I don't know what to do. I keep reaching out to people and I'm keep getting pushed aside. And I'm here to cry. I'm crying out for help because it's days I don't want to come to the resource center, but when I come there, there's another family in need, and I can't do this no more. I'm drowning, and I need resources for funding for me and the community. I've been doing the work for 8 years. It's time for me to get some answers on how do I get transitional housing? How do I get funds to pay my staff and my team? And that's my question to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And it's clear you're bringing a passion to that work every day. Your question is wrapped up in a multitude of things. Number one, the procurement process is a broken system. And it's an unfair system. And I think really it hurts small entities like yours. The whole concept is that you spend the money first and then we reimburse you. I think that's a setup, And so what we're doing in this administration, the upfront money was, I think, 30%. We're saying, no, let's increase it to 50%. We're going to do everything we can do within our powers. Let's increase it to 50%. And we need our partnership in the city council, that we need to re-examine the procurement rules on how we assist small entities like yours, so that you don't have the money to lay out. If you had the money to lay it out firsthand, you wouldn't be coming to us in the first place. You don't have the money to lay out. And the procurement rules need to be fixed to reflect that. That's been a complaint of mine since my days in the state Senate, but we do need some legislative changes to get to where we can do better in the return. And we have this system called Passport, which is just a broken system. You know, I wanted to just throw the whole darn thing out, but it's going to cost us so much money to rebuild from scratch. And being fair to them, we compelled Passport. This is a system that pays everyone and processes the invoices. We had them go beyond their scope of initial requirements of what they were supposed to build it for. With all this technology out here, I think we could do a better job. And getting the receipts in from you, the invoices in, and getting the payment out to you at a faster pace. Many of our nonprofits are waiting far too long to get their reimbursement. It is taking too long. We did a good job at the beginning where we did a mass all hands on deck. We got billions of dollars out to our nonprofits, but it is an extreme challenge to keep up with those payments that are coming in. Lastly, housing. We have a housing crisis. We have a 1.4% vacancy rate, 1.4%, functionally zero for affordable housing. And that's why we did the City of Yes. A lot of people don't understand what we were saying. We were saying you can't have a city with 59, we have 59 community boards. 10 of the community boards, like Harlem, were building more housing than the other 49 combined. Every time we try to build a project in any councilman district and build higher, they would say, you know, not in our community, not in our district. So you can't say housing is a right on Sunday, but on Monday you say you can't build it in my district. So we were able to get City of Yes passed. We're building a little more housing, most comprehensive housing plan in the history of this city. For the first time, we're building a little more housing in every community board, every district. That has never been done before. It's going to take time to catch up. We're doing our part. More housing and individuals. How you doing, Barbara? How are you? Good to see you. We build more housing in individual years 1, years 2, we're going to do it in years 3. More people out of homelessness into permanent housing in the history of the city. More people using the FEPS vouchers, the subsidized voucher program, in the history of the program. So we've been really moving in the right direction. We want to do more. We got to build more. We have an inventory problem. And when you have a lack of inventory, people can raise the prices. That's the supply and demand. And we know, we can't do it that way, brother. We're going to come to you, man. I mean, you know, and so one of the things that Pastor Monroe has done and what we did back in Borough Hall, we want our clergy to have those lots on the block to do the housing programs, to build. We put a couple of $1 million in, I think $2 million in Ebenezer Plaza, where they built a beautiful place for housing and a place of worship and a community center. And so those are the types of projects we want to do. So let me say this, folks, because this is what many people have to understand. Why they're hating on me so much. Your people, you really don't understand it. You know, I didn't see you, Shams. We went in and said we're not doing business as usual. Everybody get upset when I talk about this, but there's a permanent government in city agencies. Folks will wait you out. You know, they say, listen, Eric, you're going to be a mayor for what, 4 years, 8 years at most? I've been here for 30-something years. You know, I've seen mayors come and go. So you telling me that you're going to change the MWBE program? We put $19 billion in MWBE. Never has been done before. This never has been done before anywhere in the country. So when we start doing these initiatives that folks don't like, you know, they all of a sudden start calling the reporters they know. They start calling investigators they know. They start having you being subpoenaed and all sorts of things. This is a battle, folks. Don't. This is not for the weak of heart. You know, this is not. I disrupted some stuff, folks. You know, I disrupted some stuff. And so I said, you go back on the campaign trail and you'll see that I said that this was the Matthew 21:12 moment. Jesus went in his temple. He saw them doing wrong at his temple. He didn't sit down at the table. What did he do? He flipped it over. I went to City Hall to flip over the table, you know? And people are not happy. And let me tell you something. When y'all read my book, y'all going to see just how unhappy they were. And so I know that in some of your minds, you know, and I was saying, I was on a call with Bishop Chantel and some others the other day, some of your mind would say, well, you know, if you didn't do anything wrong, they wouldn't be coming after you. Yeah, ask Malcolm. Ask Dr. King. Ask Marcus Garvey. Ask the NAACP. Ask the Divine Nine. But you don't got to go back that far. Ask Brian Benjamin, highest ranking black in the state of New York, brought up on charges dropped, his life was destroyed, his political career destroyed. So listen, I disrupted some stuff, you know, and so we got to deal with this housing crisis, sister. We got to deal with your payment crisis, you know. But people have been eating off the dysfunctionality of government for a long time, and there's never been an urgency to fix it because poverty is profitable. It's profitable to have poverty. And people have been making paper off of the poverty of black and brown people.
Mayor, if I...
Get me started.
Mayor, and just if I may, we introduced our colleague Michael Cedillo earlier, and he'll be able to connect with you to make sure that we work through the challenges with the payment process directly. And with the work that we've done with the Mayor's Office of Nonprofits, we have assigned and announced about 2 months ago a chief nonprofit officer at about 11 agencies throughout the city. That's one person dedicated within the agency, and I know the commissioner mentioned it as well, within his agency, that is working to build a stronger relationship with the smaller nonprofits, as well as working through the challenges in the payment system. We'd love to connect with you and to work directly on those issues, as well as the announcement the mayor spoke about, the 50% advance that we know will help a lot of our nonprofit services to be able to, instead of having to put the money up front, be able to get some money early in July and then walk with us throughout the invoicing and payment challenges. But we'd love to connect with you and work on those. Absolutely.
The advance was what before?
The advance used to be 30%. And now it's 50% starting on July 1st. And we're working with our agencies, Michael Cedillo and the team of the Mayor's Office of Nonprofits. We're working to make sure that the registration of those contracts happen as quickly as possible before the beginning of the fiscal year to be able to alleviate some of the pressure points that the nonprofits are facing. But we do encourage you to please connect with us, and we'll work to make sure that whatever hiccups are in the system, and I know there's many, but we need it now, and we work with you and work with whichever agency has your contract to make sure that we clear those.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. No, that's what Deputy Mayor was talking about, sister. It was 30% before DM and her team moved it to 50%, and trying to clear up that backlog. And she has done an amazing job. And you know, it's trouble. It's a struggle. So we got to make sure we do it correctly, because if we give you payments without having the proper invoices and the proper processes, I'm back in trouble again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How you doing?
Peace and blessings, Mayor.
How are you, sister?
I'm Dr. Aisha Sekou. I'm the CEO and founder of Street Corner Resources. We do the anti-violence work here in Harlem. And I'm very proud, one, to say, Mayor, welcome to the home of the fearless, Harlem. We're happy to have you here. And I'm like a kid in a candy store right now because all of the people that I need to see are in this room. But I want to give special love to our Deputy Commissioner, Mr. Howard, for the work with DYCD, of which we're funded. We have about 25 young people going to college. So I heard your numbers, but we got numbers too, and we're really proud of them. So I really just wanted to say thank you, because oftentimes we hear people say nothing is going on. We have 130 young people working. Thank you to DYCD and his staff, Daryl and Cliff. We have a contract with Harlem Hospital where we are able to interrupt and de-escalate violence. I want people to know something more than us just showing up and giving out a card about who we are is happening, that our young people are succeeding. While we see some young people pull the trigger, we're able to oftentimes interrupt and get the kid before the trigger is pulled. Is it a lot of work? Is it trauma infused? Yes, it is. So if you call me and I say I can't talk because I'm talking to a parent or I'm talking to a kid, but I have to let you know that there's much going on, and much more will be going on, and I wanted to say thank you while people can hear it. And if you want to help and roll up your sleeves, we just opened up a garden that's owned by one of the developers, our community partner, and we'll be doing some activities there. Our event is the last Friday of every month for the last 10 years at the Peace Cafe. Our young people will be opening a media center on 131st Street, so things are happening. I raised the same hell. I sounded like her years ago, and I'm really happy to say that the help is here. It is in this room, and we have to believe in it. Thank you, Mayor Adams. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's just in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I just want to say good afternoon to everyone. I thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity to be here. I am Chaplain Reddy. I'm on a mission. That's the name of the ministry that I do for outreach. And I want to say this. At once upon a time, the scripture says, I once was young, but now I'm old. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. You all know your history. You know what we done been through. You know what we got to go through to get to where we got to go. There's somebody up here in the high places, wickedness, trying to tell us that our history don't matter, we don't exist, we ain't never did nothing, but he is a liar. All right, the best is yet to come, because history is going to be made through our voices now as our storytellers being told for our young people, our adults. But I'm going to take this short. Once when I was younger, I had a mama that had a beautiful house in Long Island. She, had me in different activities and different things. But what she did, she opened up a door where she became a gambler. She was doing hitting numbers, playing numbers, and all that kind of stuff. Had alcohol, going out, hanging out, doing the club thing. I ended up going to a youth detention center as a teenager and thought I was about to lose my mind when I saw them close the door on me. I never wanted to go to jail. I was so terrified of being locked up, put in that little hole in that wall. And then I got promoted to go upstate New York in White Plains and thought I had to go back and forth through New York City to get back to Long Island. I had this big old pocketbook with a butcher knife this long, and the knife fell out on the subway station tracks, and I froze. I was so scared to death to pick the knife up. I thought I might end up going to jail, and I was scared somebody might challenge me to fight them with that knife. I'm telling you this because as I got older and became involved with security and being a peace officer for the city, I ended up going to the ACS shelter and seeing them children over there in a facility as I once upon a time was. And I said, Lord, what can I do? I cannot see them children being in there, and I can't do something to go in there to advocate for them. So I brought some people together. We went in there, we did a program, we did a service for them and everything, praise the Lord. And one of them young people in there said, we put a drum line group that got together, that came in there and did drum line. That young man said, if I could play the drums like that, I would give up my gang card. There's things that these children need, and we can do it for them. So I want to know, as I do advocacy, we don't understand how to handle conflict without fighting and killing. We got to be able to resolve our issues. These young people need somebody in their ear to help them to resist the predators and the groomers that are out there. So I want to know how we can be a safe place, a safe zone with the churches that we can have to make sure they have a place that they can come to know that they can have somebody that can listen to them and help them when those groomers and those predators are out there to snatch them, and we can help them understand how to overcome it.
Thank you for that. So we're going to do this. I'm going to answer your question, but we're going to do this. We want you to get 4 more people, but here's the deal to get 4 more people. I need you to ask a question.
Right.
Yeah, and that, I need you to ask, hold on, before you point out, let me just lay out. I need you to ask a question, and I know that's challenging because we all have a lot going on, but I need, so I can get to your neighbors. And so neighbors, once someone is no longer asking a question, I got to drop it down to 4. The next person doesn't ask this question, I got to drop it down to 3. And so there may be only 2 people that's going to ask. So if you're not going to ask a question, it's going to be on your neighbors. We're going to answer 5 more folks, but I need you to ask a question. So, sister, I agree with you. We need to do that. And I think that, you know, the work is plentiful, the labors are few. And the more and more people that step up and do those things, we can accomplish those tasks.
All right.
One second, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I would need everyone to be seated. We got you. We see you. Just be seated. Thank you. The lady in the white is going to ask the question. We'll move from the top down to this side in rapid fire, and then we'll come to this aisle. I'm sorry that it's all over, but we'll do our best.
Go ahead, sister.
Okay, I have a housing question. If I live in a co-op,
Yes.
that was one of the low-income co-ops established during the Clinton administration.
CDFI?
Yeah, and we now found out that our co-op shares are worthless because they never put in the paperwork. So I'm asking HPD and to you, because before you give out these contracts, this owner has 109 sites that he has this is
Okay,
happening to.
so your question is?
My question is, how do we get the help? Because me and my 88-year-old neighbor been going back and forth to courts. The courts keep finding them, but they don't lock the doors
I got
on
you,
HPD.
sister. I got you. Do we have HPD here? Yes. This has been a long. This has been an issue with CDFIs. You know.
Well, I'll tell you that that's certainly something that I want to connect with you about after this, because I'm going to need a lot more details from you, because I want to put you in contact with the right people at HPD as soon as I can. But I'd like to hear more after this.
Where's your place located?
306 West 114th Street. Tiffany said you had a meeting about us, but we don't know nothing about it.
Was that? Was Tiffany's here?
Yeah, she's there.
Tiffany, was that the meeting we had with? Okay. And that was the one that I was on. Yes. Yeah, so I was on the call. Sister Aisha was on also. And so we were on with the reps from the building. What's important is whoever's representing a building need to get the information back to the people so that we don't have to do it over and over and over again. And so you have the names of who was on that call?
Aisha Sekou and Michelle James.
But there was someone from that was repping the building.
Michelle James.
Okay, so she should update you on what is happening, because we spent. I'm sorry? Okay, because I spent about an hour and a half on the phone speaking with them, and that's a lot of time for a person that got a plate like mine. So I was very engaged. And so let's find out the outcome of that call. And so they already know about it, so we're going to find out the outcome of the call and see where we are with that, okay?
All right. Keep moving down.
Question, sister, question.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
My question is in terms, I asked this question to you before during the Bronx tour. I want to ask a question pertaining to the criminal justice and the cannabis use while driving. And I need the names of people that can be in the room to educate our youth about how they measure the level of cannabis use in a system for them to get arrested. Because our young people are driving, they're using marijuana at record numbers, and they're driving, and they're getting criminalized because of this. So I need to know.
Well,
how do they measure the level of cannabis use?
Okay, and that's a great question. I know how they do it for alcohol, and I agree with you about our young people in cannabis. That's one of my biggest concerns about the legalization of cannabis. Our children are smoking and they're high all the time. And you know, the law is passed. We closed 1,400 illegal cannabis shops. I don't think I have anyone up here that's aware. Are you aware of the? Yeah, I'm not sure, but we get that question because driving under the influence It doesn't matter if it's cannabis, it doesn't matter if it's drugs, it doesn't matter, and you can't drive under influence. But we will get the number, we'll get the information on what is the legal limit to driving, if there is a legal limit. I don't know what it is. But I'll get you that information.
We're going to get in touch with you.
Where's Tommy? Tommy, can you see if we can find that out now? Can we reach out to DOHMH? To Public Safety Commissioner Daughtry, Deputy Mayor Daughtry, and find out what is the legal limit of driving while under influence of cannabis. So let's find out. Let's get that answer for you. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon.
Okay.
My name is Rodrigue Jerome, Pastor Jerome. Yes. My question is, since I've been here, I heard a lot of programs that have been created for the young people. But I'm asking what type of program that we have for the adult, the parents, because everything starts at home. Right. Okay, so I want to know.
Okay, great question. A couple of things. You know, we just announced that we're doing full day after school program. I mean, we're doing universal after school program. And it's very interesting that when you approach this stuff holistically, what may come across as it only for young people, it actually impacts adults also. So first, when you do free pre-K, 3K, that gives parents time to go to work. When you drop the cost of child care from $55 a week to less than $5 a week, a parent is not worrying about going after finding child care. They can go back to work. That's the greatest impact on women in particular of going to work is having child care. When you do the job fairs that we've been doing, we dropped unemployment by 20% in black and brown communities, and overall we dropped unemployment. But when you do those job fairs, it allows people to come in and get employment so they can provide for their families. When you do the earned income tax increase, first time in over 20 years we increased what the earned income tax is. When you give free high-speed broadband for NYCHA residents so that children and parents can do telemedicine and children can do remote learning. So when you do a full scope of what we're doing, it may help a child, but it's helping the parent. It may help someone that's dealing with severe mental health illness, but it's helping an adult in the process. We are alleviating the day-to-day stress that adults are going through by the programs that we are putting in place. This is going to impact them because right now the full burden is on the shoulders of the adults, of the parents. We are alleviating and in some cases eradicating that burden that they are feeling, and that is why these programs have a holistic approach. It's not just. It may seem like it's just the child, but it's the family that is assisting. And what we're doing around, I saw Stephanie in here. But what we're doing around domestic violence, what we're doing around our housing initiative, these are all adults that are being benefited from that.
Okay, thank you.
No limit? Right. How do they define it? I know how they do it in alcohol. You do the breathalyzer. How do they do it with marijuana? So there's no way to measure it? Okay, all right. Okay, so there's no. So let me drill into that more because if somebody's impaired, they have to define how they're impaired. So let me drill into that more. Now, if the police officer walks up to the car. And all of a sudden, the whole car is filled with cannabis smoke. That's a problem. If you are smoking while driving, that's a problem because you can't drink while driving. And so, but we need to look at. There has to be a way that they do some type of testing, and let us drill into that. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm Terry Wisdom. And I'm the CEO and founder of Harlem Network News. Mm-hmm. And before I ask my question, I just want to say...
show your hands if you want to ask a question.
No, I got a question.
Okay.
I'll ask my question quick.
Okay.
I just wanted to say rest in peace, Congressman Rangel, rest in power.
Yes.
And now I'm going to speak.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
I would like to be connected with any of the agency people. For me, Harlem Network News and making sure that our communities are informed, that is my ministry. So whoever I can get in touch with, I try to get information out. It's critical because a lot of our people are very uninformed. They're disillusioned with the mainstream media and a lot of the lies and so on and so forth that's going on. So I need help. I need guidance. I need hand-holding because I spend a lot of my time really just doing content, getting information out there, and also working so I can fund Harlem Network News, but I can do a lot more. I come out of a 30-year media career, so I know how to do this, but I need help. How can I get help? And also, I'd like to interview you, Mayor, on Harlem Network News.
Yes,
so
that was a great interview. So I got your question. So we have an ethnic media, and we're going to put you in contact. Can we get the contact information? We got an ethnic media I want to make sure she gets in contact with, right, Tiffany? Don't just give them a card. I want to make sure we're going to put you in contact with them because you're right, that's important. The distortion of news in the city, that distortion is real. And so we want to make sure we put you in contact with the person in charge of our ethnic media so that you could do that and where the advertisement dollars are. So, Tiffany, put it. Yeah. I got to balance it out, folks. We're gonna do this. I really need you to ask a question because I got my brothers in the back, and I want to get as many as possible. Get right here. Yeah.
I'm Sharon Salam from Justice for the Wrongfully Incarcerated. I'm also the mother of Councilmember Yusuf Salam, who is not present at this moment. My question has nothing to do with him, but it has to do with our community. Right now, we're in a crisis where our education is being eliminated by people and voices above us. They're not going to be taught African-American histories. They're not going to be taught our Native American histories. They're not going to be taught any type of histories of any value beyond the histories of the Europeans. So now, when we talk about hate crimes, if people do not understand their own history, it's very easy for them to develop hate. How can we
Let me answer your question. That's not true. That's not true. We would never in this city take away the study of history of individuals. That's not true. We're going to have we have hidden voices for our Asian community. We have African American studies. We have Latino studies. If anything, we're going to start increasing because our city is becoming more and more diverse. We're going to start increasing. And so, sister, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. And your son is doing an amazing job to make sure that doesn't happen over in the city council. We're going to expand the study of history. We're going to make sure that we realize that all of us have a story and every story should be respected. And that is the role that we're going to do in our Department of Education. We're going to make sure that's crucial. And I would say this, be real careful of the sensationalism of the noise. I go back to the sister from Harlem, from the news. Some people want us to be in a constant perpetual state of, the boogeyman is coming. Folks, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. And I keep saying this over and over to us, that I know that many of us believe that these times are unique and extremely difficult and uncertainty. Folks, we've been catching hell forever. What am I missing? What am I missing? Pre this administration, we were dealing with overproliferation of guns in our community. Of this administration, we were dealing with 30% of black and brown children reaching reading level. Pre-administration, we were dealing with not getting the contracts that we deserve. I can go on and on and on and on. We've been catching hell forever. It didn't start January 1st, 2025, folks. And if you allow yourself to be distracted by all that sensationalism and noise that's going on, you're not going to stay true to your mission. I'm true to my mission. I was catching hell under Biden, folks. We spent $7.7 billion under Biden that should have went into our services. But I'm not saying the energy that people had under Biden because he was a Democrat. If I'm catching hell, then Malcolm said Democrat, dissy crack, or whatever crack, it's all the same crack. Listen, let's stay focused on our agenda. Let's stay focused on our agenda. That's what we need to do. Because if you don't stay focused on your agenda, people are going to pull you off on so many different agendas. My agenda has been same from day one, and it's going to continue to be the same. And no one is taking African American studies out of our schools. It's not going to happen. How are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. First, I want to thank you as a person of color for the work you've done and the progressive work you've done in this city.
Thank you.
Say that. I'm probably your biggest critic, so me saying that is a big thing. I want to also say thank you to Keith, Lewis, Manny for all your work doing in this city and everyone in this panel. I've worked with you before. I worked with mostly everybody in this room, Shams. My question is, justice impacted supportive housing, and how can we work with the city to develop more supportive housing? I represent several houses that also have the ability to build up. How do we partner with developers? How do we create this system for 18 to 25 years old? Currently, I'm struggling doing that with housing with private owners. So during the pandemic, we work with mostly 4 units and 2-unit family homeowners to do developing justice impacted supportive housing. We had that on a city level with supportive programs and income-producing properties downstairs. Then the church would benefit, but also we would have housing for 18 to 25 with college and also employment opportunities with that. How do we work with the city to get developers on board to build on top of our churches so not only do we have income, but we have housing and programs for those returning citizens and just to get past young adults? Thank you.
Hi, Lucian Reynolds from HPD again. The mayor's City of Yes zoning text change has unlocked the ability for so many churches who were previously unable to develop on their land, whether adjacent to their existing sanctuary or offices, or redeveloping the entire site. And now with City of Yes, they're able to get more for their site. So with that, we are 100% working with all parties who want to come work with HPD. Particularly, we're extending resources to faith-based and mission-driven organizations to try to give them the knowledge they need to start the development process, because we don't want them to go jumping, talking to a developer without knowing what they need to talk about and how to be armed with the defense against not getting a good deal. We want them to get a good deal, not just a deal, but a good deal for their land. And thirdly, this is public monies, so we have to make sure that we're getting the most for the city's buck in these housing. So that being said, we're closing deals every year with our mission-driven organization partners, and we're putting units on the board. Just in 2024, we had our record-setting highest number of supportive units built, 2,761. That's a city record, but we're always pushing for more. And with our commitments to the 1515, we're going to be doing more and more to try to break that record again.
So you know what we should do? Because you just said something that's very important. We should hold in the next 2 weeks or so, hold a meeting with our faith-based leaders saying how does City of Yes impact your property? Because we passed it, now they need to know how to get it. So Pastor Monroe, let's coordinate in the next 2 weeks or so. Yeah. Let's just hold a meeting, invite our faith-based institutions. How does City of Yes impact you? Because a lot of people are thinking the old ways when like you said, we freed up and we opened up great possibilities of building on top of churches, building on those parking lots that they have. Some of these churches have, some of these houses of worship have lots. So let's bring them in and say, this is how this new law impact you. Because you're right, we don't want you just to be partnered with a developer. We want you to be partnered with a developer that's not going to steal your church, your property, and everything else. Right. You know, so let's, all right, Pastor, let's put that in place, okay? Thanks a lot. Get the brother all the way in the back. I'm going to come to you, brother, but I'm going to get these brothers been raising their hands in the back for a while.
Thank you, Mayor Adams. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Priest Shargapan. I'm with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohana. And my question is in regards to the recent news about ACS and the unaliving of children. I would like to know, how can clergy be part of ACS to kind of sit in and review different cases and be more active in the lives of families that we serve already in our community?
I like that. That's a great question. You're right on target. And here's the challenge we're having with the whole ACS universe. There's a balance when you respond to a household where a child is in danger. If you move too prematurely, you are breaking up a family, which we have fought not to do. If you don't move fast enough, that child is in danger. And if those, I just take my hat off to ACS workers. Everyone wants to beat them up, but they're knocking on those doors. They're going in that household. They're doing the observation. And we have a good commissioner over there. So what I would like to do is have you and others, as a matter of fact, we should bring in our clergy group and identify these families that need support and create some type of mentorship, some type of partnership. We have to be sensitive in it because the laws don't only allow us to divulge a certain level of information. But if the family is receptive to that partnership and that relationship with the faith-based institution, I think it could be a great help because oftentimes these parents are inundated. And some of the things that they have to go through, the support mechanism is important. And so we will have to sit down with the commissioner and find out what that relationship looks like. But I think that's a great idea if we could have participating houses of worship that would like to do so. And so it is a conversation we would like to have. But Pastor, if you could lead that conversation with the commissioner. I'm gonna do two more and I got to bounce. Yes.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
All right. How are you?
All is well.
Good.
So my name is Vernon Boyceau. I have an organization by the name of the Beat 139. I have an anti-gang violence program on Rikers Island, right? So we do the whole West facility. It's 10 buildings. We do 10 units 2 or 3 times a week. My question to you is this. See, a lot of gang violence, I'm sick of it. I'm from Harlem. There's a lot of shootings. They're not hitting their targets. It's too much. It's too much. Shout out to Sister Aisha Shakur. She's doing a marvelous job. But my question is this. We need to have more programs on Rikers Island to rehabilitate these criminals, these gang members, or they're going to come back out and do the same thing. They have no programs. That's why we're on it. You know, we have reintegration programs. We have all kind of different programs to give assistance to these guys we have to retrain their way of thinking. They don't have nothing in Rikers Island that's helping them to be productive citizens in the community. So the same thing they did to get in, they're going to come out and do it again because they're not learning anything. They're just sitting around, watching TV, working out. That's not going to change their way of thinking.
Well said. And hats off to
And we do, like she said, we MWB certified, and we're volunteers.
Right.
We have no funding whatsoever. And how can we do something about that? Because that's where we at.
Yeah, we have there are programs on there and some good ones. I think of Fatherless No More. I've been on Rikers Island more than any man in the history of the city, talking to inmates, talking to correction officers, finding out and walking those halls to find out what we need to do, attending their graduations. So there are programs there. We need more. And we need, brothers like you and what you're doing to step up, brothers and sisters to step up, because those sisters on Rikers Island are hurting as well. But we need more to come on. We have everything from Buddhist monks that are on Rikers Island. There's a host of events that we are doing on Rikers, but there's always room for more for people to duplicate what you have. I'm going to give the women in the back. Yeah, hold on. Go ahead. Women in the back, and then, folks, I gotta go. We're never going to run out of any questions because all of you are thirsty for a mayor to be front and center because you never had a mayor that was front and center the way I am. So you're never going to end asking questions. Everyone else did drive-bys. Cuomo would stop in one of your churches and then all of a sudden said, I did enough. I'm in deep with you. I'm spending time with you. You know, this authentic relationship that we have. And trust me, when it's no longer here, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to miss having an authentic relationship with a person that's responsible for 8.5 million people and day starts at 4 a.m. and goes all the way into the deep of the night. You're going to miss this. You're going to miss this. You know that?
Like the mayor said, and I want to make sure we're introducing you to what we're doing on Rikers Island. I'm working with Commissioner Letty there as she's building our programs, expanding programs. We have a fatherhood initiative on Rikers Island. The mayor increased the slots from 1,500 to 3,000, intentionally meeting with the fathers on Rikers Island, creating programs as well. We have Kings of Kings, who's run by Lance Furtado. They actually have programs on Rikers Island where they're having an assortment of different work groups, talking to young people about changing their life. They're one of our Cure Violence groups as well. We're going to be working with Commissioner Lady to build a motherhood program out on Rikers Island as well. So we're working through those and those approaches as well. We have functional family therapy that's happening on Rikers Island. We're going to be extending our CRED program, which we just talked about, when young people get released, to be able to go into those cohorts and have that opportunity to take those workforce programs. And again, that's $20 an hour starting from day one to make sure those young people are connected. I have my staff over here. We can definitely take your information. We can see how we can partner with you and your organization and connect you to everything that we're happening on Rikers Island. We agree with you. While they're there, we need to be able to address them, give them the transformative services to make sure that they come out as better citizens.
So let's do this. Let's do this because you know it's almost a good point that you raised. That the mere fact someone that's on Rikers is saying that he doesn't know of other programs on Rikers, that's a problem. So we need to, in the next week or so, you know, we need to have a meeting because the commissioner knows everyone that's coming on. She knows those monks. She knows the fatherless no more. We need to have a sit down at our house and even at Gracie, bring on all these programs that are operating on Rikers so these folks know each other and say, what am I doing? How do we cross-collaborate? What are the most violent offenders? Because not everybody on Rikers Island are violent. You know, there's some folks that are just trying to do their time and come back home. So we need to focus on those who are the most violent, the most repeated offenders. So let's get you in the room with the others who are doing stuff on Rikers so you will know each other. And you can say, okay, how do we utilize our action to, number one, find funding, number two, how to work together. This way, if you're telling me, Eric, I'm not aware of the other programs, we need to fill that gap. All of you need to know of each other so we don't have a duplication of services on Rikers Island. Okay?
We got that.
Let's pull it together. Sister?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Sandra J.F. Ultimo from Chosen Generation, Haitian Federation. We connect with all of the Haitians from Harlem and the Bronx we represent. And I come from Charles Memorial where we actually, where Malcolm X was eulogized, for those who don't know. But my question is, we have been working in all these churches and the common issue has been that people who live in their properties are having problems that they have already put in applications for different affordable apartments, whatever the apartments, they've been on waiting lists forever. Nobody called them. They live in the neighborhood. And just continuously we're reapplying, not getting an answer. The other piece of my question is...
Let's on that first piece. What is, I didn't understand that. What happened? They have spaces and...
So they have applied for apartments, like affordable apartments in their neighborhood.
Okay.
Never heard anything.
Through Housing Connect?
Yeah, not just Housing Connect.
Okay.
Different apartments, affordable apartment through a management, within the neighborhood and things of that nature. Never got called. Okay. We tried to...
Pause. Wait. Isn't all of our affordable housing, does it come through one system? Or is it...
Yeah, I believe so. Unless they're supportive units or there's some sort of special set aside, they should all go through Housing Connect. Though, I will say this is a really great opportunity for us to talk about how we've just changed the Housing Connect policy. So for re-rentals, it's first come, first serve. people can go right out and find the unit on the market and rent it, and then HPD will check to make sure they meet the income guidelines. But the Housing Connect will be for when a building first opens, there's a lottery for all the units, and we're having, thousands of people apply for each building. So, it's got to be, there's luck involved. But for re-rentals now, HPD is going to allow those units to go right to the market, so they can go on Street Easy, they can go in Zillow. The property managers can find people, because we want people in those units as fast as possible. And sometimes there's a location kind of advantage there. But we've changed that policy so that you should check Housing Connect again, and keep checking it, because we're making it easier and easier for people to get units, whether they're first hitting the market or they've had a tenant and they're being put back on the market now.
So let's break that down, because that's important what you just said. The re-rentals. Mm-hmm. This is not going through the lottery system of Housing Connect.
Correct.
This is someone going out. They found an apartment on their own through whatever methods, and take us through that part.
Yeah. So, for example, if someone says, "Hey, you know what? I think there's a unit in my building that someone's moving out of," they talk to my property manager. Maybe that unit could work for you. You're in a similar income bracket as me. You could talk to the property manager, and you could get a direct rental from that re-rental. So we're trying to create more opportunities for people to get into these units, because these are the hardest units for property managers and not-for-profits to rent back up, because it takes a long time to re-rent them in the past, but we want to cut that time down so these units are working for New Yorkers as fast as possible.
Can you understand? You understand what he stated, which is really, instead of just Housing Connect, you can, if you do your own hustle and find a place, you still can use the advantages of the city to assist if you meet the income guidelines.
Can you connect us with that?
Yes. That's why he's here. He's not just standing up here looking good and cool.
I'm gonna need your number. I'm gonna need your number.
Right. And so you raised something that's very important that a lot of people don't realize. You're gonna give her a second the other question to ask. What a lot of people don't realize, we are building the units. The demand is so high, 1.4% vacancy rate. The demand is so high. You will have a unit with 300 apartments in the building. We'll get 40, 50,000 applicants. That's how high the demand is. And so that's why City of Yes, that's why building more housing is important, because we have an inventory problem. So, people who are saying, I call Housing Connect, I never won the lottery, they probably telling the truth. Yeah. Because winning these housing lotteries is like winning a multi-billion-dollar lottery. The demand of housing is extremely high. We're building it fast, but we are not able to keep up with the pace of the demand. What was your second question?
Second question is about property. So we've identified property in our neighborhood that's been sitting there for over 10 years. It used to house homeless population, had a 90-year lease. We've been trying to get into that building for over 10 years. Nobody has been able to help us. The landlord is dead, and we are back and forth trying to figure out, it's empty, and it's causing a lot of vagrant around the neighborhood, and we need help. And that building can house people.
Right, so you got a vacant building on the block that's sort of bringing down the physical characteristics of the block, and you got to find the owner of it to determine what's the outcome of it. A lot of this stuff get tied up in probate for a long time. It get tied up in probate, so we don't know if it's city-owned. How do we find out? Is there a way? Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'll come to you. Okay. But,
so if you have the address of the property and you go to the Manhattan office of the city register, they have ACRIS and all the land records of the city. You've looked up that.
Yes, we've done all of that.
Okay. That's all I got.
Yeah, and it didn't tell you the owner of the...
Owner is dead, and we have been going back and forth. They're like, well, we don't know. Well, go to the borough president, go to the mayor's office.
The Creole is coming out now, Yeah.
But Mio has been working with us. He's been trying to help us with this.
Yeah, so when it tells you the owner of the building, right?
The owner of record, but if the owner dies or something like that and nobody files a deed, we don't know, if the ownership has
That's
changed
interesting.
or if it's in probate or what. Have you gone to the public administrator's office?
Everybody.
Everybody.
And what did you find out about?
Going back in circles. Go back to this person. Go back.
So why don't we use that as a case study?
Okay.
Let's use that as a case study. Can you give us the address to the building?
515 West 148th Street.
Okay, and let's use that. There must be a way to define who the owner is. So let's use, and if there isn't a way, we need to fix that problem. But we're going to need a case study to find out. So can we look at
515 West 148th Street between Amsterdam and Broadway.
Okay, let us do that. And so, can you have one of your team members, Commissioner? And then if we find that, it is a brick wall, we need to come up with a way. We have to be able to find the owner because those buildings will remain empty when we're trying to fill the process. You were going to say you're going to say something?
Mayor.
Yeah. Yeah, how you doing?
We've been working with Sandra, so again, it's really a probate matter and with the Borough President's office. So we're still following up.
So is it in probate?
It is, and this is a lot of the legal wrap-up. Once it's in probate and it's a private owner, there's very little the city can do until the courts resolve that at that level, at the legal level. So it's really a legal matter.
Okay. So that's what that's what I thought. So they, although the owner died, the families are trying to decide who's.
This is happening with a lot of buildings when they get caught up in probate. So I don't want to take up, but we have been working because this is part of the work that we do with our patient relief effort as part of immigrant affairs in Harlem.
So there may be, we may have to look at what we could do legislatively to compel the banks, because somebody owns it, unless it's completely fully owned. So let us use this as a case study to figure out how we could deal with this problem. Because a vacant building that sits empty impacts the quality of life of a community, and it's taking away those affordable units off our docket. So let us try to figure out. Okay, folks, I got to go.
God bless you, Mayor. Thank you.
Hold on.
It's important because it's about jobs. So just before everyone leaves, remember the website I gave everyone, cityjobs.nyc.gov. We have scheduled almost 200 exams, both entry-level and promotional in the city. And if you can see on the back, we have a partnership with Municipal Credit Union. If you have a Municipal Credit Union account, then what will happen is they will cover the cost of the exams. Thank you.